Let's go!
Today, I'm going to walk you through the process I call bulk vibe coding, what it is, how it works, and a demo of how I build things live to make money online. This is a very straightforward process based on something I've been doing since about 2002. Back then, we would buy scripts and alter them with programming and build databases and full-on programs that we could use to create a business. This is something you're going to want to pay attention to because now, using AI, we're actually going through and programming things with the intent of building a business so that we can make money. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at things like Manus AI, where you can do bulk research right like this, and then we're going to be turning this bulk research into programs that people actually want. This is all based on data. That's the key to making this whole thing work, is using data to get results and then turning that data into software as a service, programs, tools, and all kinds of things like that. As you can see here, Manus is running a full-on research on something that I'm going to be using to build a program live today. So you're going to want to smash the like button and pay attention to every bit of this training. Here's an example of a tool that I made based on Monday's video, which was all about these search joggers, these search queries. And as you can see here, this is based on over 1,000 different search queries that you can use with AI to get a specific result. And if you actually look at how this works live on my website, you can see that we've implemented it here where they can go and click on the vault, which has all of these tools here programmed, ready to go. And not only that, but we actually built in AI. So someone can go here, they can look at the websites, or they can go over here and actually use AI with these specific search strings to get a detailed result. This is super important because it's all about the customer. It's all about the person who's going to use your software, your tools, or your bulk research. And when you pair programming with bulk research, it is a match made in heaven. Why? Because it's all based on data that people can actually use. Here's an example I'm running in Claude where we're going to be going through and using all the different startups that failed this year, going through and looking at the data and saying, okay, can we use this data to build a tool that helps people have a better shot of getting their startup noticed and actually turning a profit? This is super important and hardly anyone's talking about it. So if you're excited to see how I build these live using bulk vibe coding, then you're in for a treat. Let's take a look at a few more. Here's one I created based on a dashboard where someone can put an affiliate offer in and go through an entire process to promote that affiliate offer super fast. And here's another one that took me a few days, but the result was actually amazing. In this one, I went through and fed it a list of over 3,000 domain names I owned with databases and all kinds of crazy stuff. The AI went through and bulk edited the MySQL database in a super simple way where I just uploaded it and boom, we now have a site ready to go. Again, this is based on bulk research, bulk data, and having AI do what it does best, which is go out there and do the work that we don't have the time to do. I mean, think about it. To go through all 3,000 domains took one of my assistants over 2 months. And this is the kind of thing that you can do with AI in a super straightforward way. And not only that, but it'll actually go through and categorize them where you could click the button and see the domains that you want, the activity, the whole 9 yards. This is an absolute game changer. So whether you're going to use bulk vibe coding on your own websites, build a software as a service, a membership site, or a business, or use this to sell to other businesses, I want you to understand the magnitude because this is a game changer. So if you're excited to learn how vibe coding works, smash that like button. Let's hop over to the live set and I'm going to show you step by step, live, how to use vibe coding to build your business and grow your income. Come on, let's dive in. All right, so there's this whole trend going on online about vibe coding till I reach $1 million. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you as someone who has actually built a business, done this kind of things, had programmers, and built stuff that has gone out and made a lot of money. We want to understand what is it that it actually takes to make this work. Because I think there's a lot of misconception, there's a lot of busy work, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but a lot of people aren't really getting where they want to go. So we want to understand how this idea of bulk vibe coding works, because I think bulk vibe coding is going to change the script on what you're actually building and what you're actually doing, so that you can understand, okay, now we're actually getting ahead. We're building something at scale that people actually want. This is all based on data. Now, before we dive in and get started, I have gone out there, I've made lots of money online. I've been doing this for 27 years. I want you to realize that the results that I have, the results that other people have, are not typical, implied, or guaranteed. This is a business. It takes a lot of work. There's risk, there's reward, there's effort, and the vast majority of people trying to make money online make nothing. So we want to understand that at the get-go and really look at what it takes to get where we want to be. Super, super important. Now, the idea of bulk vibe coding comes to me from Manus and Claude. Manus AI is very, very good at going out there and researching things and making files about what you research. So I was thinking to myself a couple of weeks ago, what would happen if I actually asked Manus to be my vibe coder / researcher? Because if it did both at once, now I'm getting something built based on data, based on real world stuff, based on something that I actually have to give to the marketplace, rather than here's some idea, here's some code, I hope it works. So going through here, we're gonna look at how to use Manus AI and Claude to spin up to 50, 100, or even 500 finished outputs at a time without the AI quality collapse. Now, I want to bring this to your attention because the first time I actually came across this idea was when I was about 20, 21 years old. When I was 21 years old, I was trying to start my business. I didn't have a lot of money. At that time, my wife and I were renting 2 rooms in a house. It was a shared house where we raised my youngest daughter, or my oldest daughter, who is now on her own, right? And so I was starting this business, and I came across people who were distributors for a company called Herbalife. And they were out there, they're trying to make money, they're trying to build this stuff up. And I thought to myself, well, hey, wait a minute, what if I built a dashboard with little icons for the categories, like here's the supplements, here's the weight loss stuff, here's all of this. And what if I took and scanned that catalog in and made a dashboard about that so that I could sell Herbalife stuff with my own PayPal account? And it was an idea I thought was pretty cool. I spent weeks and weeks creating that dashboard, having all the products, having all the codes, having everything in there so that I could sell. And if you guys remember back then, the way that it worked is you had to get a merchant account and do your own stuff. Now it's a lot different, but back then, we had this stuff. And so when I went through and I spent, I think it took me about 2.5 weeks of actual work to sit down and build this dashboard, which was a lot of work. I didn't see any income. I had zero money until this thing was done. And so when it was done, I had a disk, it was on a floppy disk, and I was able to sell that to other representatives, reps, and get money. Right? So I was able to build this thing one time, 2.5 weeks, and I will never forget it, because what happened next was nothing short of astonishing to my 21-year-old brain. I might have been 22 at the time. I don't know. I got to do the math there. I think I was 22. But going through there, what happened was I was able to take this one thing that I made one time in 2.5 weeks, didn't cost much money or anything like that, and I was on a call with about 150 people. This was back when we did teleseminars. It wasn't even webinars, it was a teleseminar. And we did this teleseminar, and on that teleseminar, I sold over $7,000 worth of this thing that I made once. And I was like, wait a minute. So I sold $7,000 in about 2 hours of this software that I made one time, and I can still go out there and sell it to more people. And I thought to myself, hey, this is the Shangri-La business moment of, can I make something one time, sell it over and over and over again, and get money over and over and over again. Again, remembering, I've been doing this for a long time. These results are not typical, implied, or guaranteed. We need to understand this like a business. We need to make things people want. Back then when I made that, I knew people wanted it. I knew people were struggling with this one thing, and I was able to get that. Now, fast forward 23, almost 24 years later, with the use of AI, this kind of thing can be done at scale. So what we're doing, essentially, what did I do back then with this catalog? Well, I basically took something, here's the something, and I turned it into data, and I turned that data into packageable software or software as a service
or a dashboard that you sell one time, however you want to work it. Okay, so you take the something, you turn that something into data, and then you turn that into something you can sell. Okay, this is very important. This is the process. And I think a lot of people talking about vibe coding miss this, because if you vibe code, it's fun. You get into it, you get in the groove. I vibe code all kinds of stuff all the time, but we have to look at what is the end result. What is it we are getting from it? So going through here, let's go ahead and take a look at what bulk vibe coding is, how to use it, and what I'm doing in my business literally right now as my challenge to make $1 million with vibe coding. Again, remembering this is a business, I've done this for a while. There are certain steps and things you can do to use vibe coding to make this work. Have I made 7 figures vibe coding? I think it's pretty close. I think right around there, maybe a little bit more. I haven't done the actual breakdown of what was from vibe coding and what wasn't. I've had some really good wins. I've had a few where, I'll go on there, I'll show something on a webinar, something bulk, and I'll sell a bunch of them right off the get-go. Understanding what makes people buy and how this works is super important. Now, vibe coding, when we take a look at bulk vibe coding, what we're doing is we're looking at how can we do something at scale. Vibe coding is when you describe what you want in plain English and let AI write the code. So if I go to ChatGPT and I say, I want to make a program that turns a PNG file into a PDF file. Pretty simple, okay? You can vibe code that. It's very simple, very easy. If you do it in PHP or HTML, you can load it on your website and bada boom, bada bang, you have a working website that you can actually use. We did case studies of this where we looked at background remover sites and sites that do different things with files and all kinds of things like that. Now, when we look at this, Collins Dictionary made it the word of the year for 2025. So I went through and it's like, okay, that was the word of the year. Bulk vibe coding is the volume version. Instead of describing one thing and getting one thing back, hey, make me a WordPress plugin, what we're doing is we are describing a pattern. Okay, this is what a lot of people miss. They think AI is like some cool friend they can talk to and everything like that. Really, all it is a pattern machine. It's all it is. Input in, input out. You put the wrong thing in, you get the wrong thing out. Sounds like the old Hokey Pokey song. But at any rate, when you look at the pattern machine, you are going through and saying, well, wait a minute. What if I can have AI get a bunch of data online, like maybe websites or ideas or tips or strategies or concepts, boil those down into a data package, and then bulk vibe code into something I can actually sell. So that's what we're doing here. That's what I'm going to show you today. That's what we're going to look at. There are 3 different flavors of bulk work that you'll be doing. Number 1, generating large quantities of files. Okay, this is the internet. The internet's a bunch of files or data from a template plus a list. 2, we're going to be modifying existing scripts, files, or databases and records in bulk. 3, we're going to be processing large data sets where each item needs the AI's reasoning applied separately. If this seems a little bit deep, don't worry, we're going to break it up and show you exactly how each part works. The shift is mental, not technical. We stop writing the output and we write the factory that produces the output. So if I was to go through and say, well, wait a minute, I built this disk back then, I made a bunch of money. What if instead I built the factory that built that disk and now I can go do something else? Think about this for a minute. Here is 22-year-old Marcus. He comes up with this disk. Here's the floppy disk. All right, I think they had like little circles and a label on it, right? I have this disk and I'm like, woohoo, this is really cool. I made $7,000 in a couple hours selling the disk. Now, obviously it took me time to make the disk, but in that sales period, that is what I got. Again, results not typical, implied, or guaranteed. Most people make nothing. Follow with me here. What if instead of just going and selling that one time, what if I said, wait a minute, I think I'm on to something here. And what if I did that for Herbalife, Legal Shield, all these other companies that are doing the same kind of thing? What if I actually did that? And I did. In some instances I did. But back then we didn't have AI, so it was a lot more difficult to do. What would happen is now, instead of just having a great day over the $7,000 windfall I got, now I would be able to actually produce these at scale and build a business that is now a dashboard business, a software business, rather than just a one-off. Is everyone following me? If you are, let me know in the comments, because going through and having this shift of I am creating the factory, not the output. This is big, because if you want to be a serial entrepreneur, if you want to build a lot of these things, that is the key. Now, every bulk job has 6 pieces. If we get all 6 of these right, we're going to get a better output. Number 1 is the data. Okay, what is the data we're getting? Okay, a lot of people, they start vibe coding, they look at an idea and they're like, this seems cool, this seems fun, and then they build the thing out and they wonder why it doesn't sell. The reason it doesn't sell is because they're looking at either the wrong data or they're not looking at data at all. They're looking at what their idea is, what they want to build. I want to build things based on actual data, based on things people want, with a built-in traffic system. This is important. A lot of people build the thing and then try to find the traffic for the thing. Not me. I'm finding the traffic, I'm building the thing around the traffic, putting them together, and now I have something that's going to work. Going through here, we're going to have the data, which is first. This is our raw material we're working with, right? If you were in a factory, think about it like this is the lumber and the coal and the rubber and all this stuff, right? Then we have the template. This is what every output looks like. This is our structure. So if I went through and I templatized my dashboard, I say, okay, what does the dashboard look like? Well, it needs to have the products, needs to have the buy button, needs to integrate with Stripe, PayPal, or whatever. Okay? So this is like the structure of what it's going to look like. And once you have that, now I can vibe code this thing, boom, add infinitive, and I'm ready to go. This is literally what companies are doing, where they're doing this stuff at bulk automatically, something like Linktree or StanStore, where they make the template, you're literally paying for their template over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Super important. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it in a custom way. Very important. Next, we're going to have the manifest. This is the CSV, the list, or the MySQL file. We'll talk about how that works in just a minute. 4, we're going to have the validator. This is the check that runs after generation to make sure everything worked correctly, right? This is going to be like the number file that's like, how many are actually in this? Well, 200. Okay, go back and check it because I wanted 500. Hey, are all these correct? Double check it. This is where you're going to have the fact checker. 2 or 5 is the funnel. Okay, what is it going to look like? How are we going to get people in and actually make a living with this thing? And then 6 is the traffic. If you cannot answer all 6 of these, you do not have a bulk job. You have a content pile that nobody sees and nothing connects to. A lot of people doing vibe coding till they build all these giant things. Sometimes it works. A lot of them work because they're here talking about it live and that drives traffic to it. Some of them are actually building it off-site with different things, but we have to look at this in a real-world way and say, how are we going to bootstrap this from nothing? How do I start from nothing? Just, okay, I have a blank mind. I know I can vibe code. What am I going to do? How is this going to work? This is where we're going to go through and look at the strategy and understand it. So we need to ask ourselves before we start, do I have all 6 of these? If you don't, go to AI and ask it to get you all 6 of these because you can vibe code these and build it and grow it. Very important. We need to know what we're connecting to and how it works. Now, going through here, we're going to go and look at how I'm doing this right now. Now, we went through, we talked about how it works, what we're going to do. How is it based, okay? Now, one of the things that I started vibe coding in bulk was the Got Niches site. Now, you guys saw this in the beginning of this training, if you were around since the beginning, where we went through and used this Got Niches site. And what I did was I went to Manus AI, I gave it a database file, and then I gave it a list. So I'm like, okay, I go to my GoDaddy, I get my list of domains with the prices, because if you're on GoDaddy, they give you the estimated value of the domains. And then I went through and I was like, okay, I need to compare this with a list that one of my workers made, and I need to compare it with something else. Why? Why would I do that? Well, because data processed, okay, processed data is everything, right? What is the entire internet? What is AI? What is AI doing? It's literally processing data. Literally, once you understand that, you're like, wait a minute, AI is processing, yes, It was trained on all these codes, all these files, all these things, and it's processing data. It processes the data you put in, which is text or whatever. It processes the data it puts out. Once we understand that, the mystery is gone. Okay, a lot of people are mystery around AI and all this stuff. It's really not that complicated. I mean, yes, the way it works is complicated, but unless you're going to be a systems engineer on the back end looking at how AI works, you don't really need to know it. You just need to know how to make it work for you. Understanding that's everything. So now we're going through and we're like, okay, what did I do? Well, I went through and I had all of these domains and everything scheduled and structured so that they can go in different categories, and I made it to where they can actually buy them. So if you were to go to this one here, you can actually buy a domain, and it was all tied into everything. Now, the way that we did this is going through and saying, okay, what do I have? Well, I have a big list of stuff. Okay, cool. So I got this GoDaddy list of all my domains, right? So here's this list. I think there was like 3,600 domains in there. All right, now here I need to put them into a MySQL database. All right, this is something our worker here, Alina, taught me how to set up. So thank you for that, Alina. And going through and looking at, okay, now I'm going to do it in this database so that my software can actually talk to it. Okay, that's what's happening here. This software is going through and it's like, hey, is this domain in the database? Yes. Okay, what's next to it? And if you need help understanding databases, think about it like an Excel file. Literally all it is a giant Excel file online with rules, right? It has rules. It says, okay, we need column 1 is the domain. All right, so WP City or whatever. Column 2 is yes or no. Is it taken or is it free? Okay? Column 3 would be maybe the GoDaddy value. Column 4 would be what niches or keywords would this have? Okay, so this database literally has 3,000 of them. Now, who wants to go through and make a 3,000 line database with a bunch of different tables and all these things? Not me. I don't want to do that. So what I do is I use that in Manus AI, where I actually have it edit and create the thing for me. So what I could do is something very simple. I can go out there and say list 100 startup ideas using AI that sold or had an exit over 10 million. Clean, good examples only. Cite source. And what it'll do is it'll actually cite the sources and get this list. Now I'm going to make the list smaller just so that you guys can see how this works. We'll just put 10 in here and imagine we're doing this with 1,000, because otherwise we would literally be here all day if we were waiting for it to do 1,000. There are jobs that I run in Manus AI that some of them take hours and hours and hours. Some of them have taken actually a couple of days. But going through and looking at how gotniches.com/go worked and looking at all the domains and everything, when we vibe coded that, we were looking at a base. So I started with a base. I went out there and I purchased a $70 software and we modified it on my old site. And then we brought it to the new site, made the database with it and everything like that. So going through there is super, super big. Now, some other things you can do is you can start to look at what would valuable data look like in terms of a vibe-coded tool. Oh, okay, so I could literally go out there. Just a couple weeks ago, if you didn't watch Monday's video, watch Monday's video. It talks about what I'm about to show you. Going through here on Monday's video, I went through and I said, okay, I need a list of blogs that have reported income. Cool, excellent. All right, so now I have something. Okay, like how many of you guys would be like, yes, I would pay for a list of blogs, thousands of blogs that reported income. Okay, I know I've actually paid for this stuff myself. Now what we have to do is we have to say, okay, well, what am I gonna do with this data? I can take it as Manus gives it to me, and I can have a giant list, and I could probably go sell that for $100, $200, or whatever. I've paid $300 for this exact same information before I knew how to get AI to find it. That's one thing you can do, right? It's basically data as a product. Okay, so the digital product is the data. Going through there, obviously make sure you have the rights and everything to what you're doing. Next, what we're going to do is say, well, what if I wanted it even better? Okay, so I could sell the PDF file, the TXT file. Here's all the sites that have income reports that use this stuff. Okay, cool. We saw this with Built With. Built With is a company that is selling data. It's $22 million a year. That's what they're making. Okay, what do they have different than just a TXT file with data? Well, they have it on a website that's manageable and usable and everything like that. Okay, cool. So then what I would do is I'd go to Manus and I'd say, okay, here's all our sites. Great. Now, please make a MySQL file. MySQL, I think it's like that. MySQL. There we go. If you sound it out, that works a little bit better, right? So make a MySQL file of this data and show me the tables and everything so I can set this up. Thinking about this, right? Like if this was back in the days of me creating that catalog disk for the Herbalife people, I could literally put this up on my site as a database setup thing. Like here's what page 1 looks like, page 2, page 3. Then I can run it through and say, enter your name, Marcus. Enter your PayPal stuff, boom, and it would actually go through and build the site for them based on PayPal or Stripe or whatever it is they were doing. Much like we see StanStore and things like that doing today. Going through here, we need to understand that codes and data together is like the best thing ever, in my opinion. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a MySQL file of this data, show me the tables and everything so I can set this up. Let me get a chair here. Hopefully that's a little bit too low. Maybe we'll make the camera lower. There we go. There we are. All right. Got to see me there. That's the most important part. But going through here, what we're going to do is we're going to make the MySQL right like this. Okay. And then we will vibe code whatever we want to work with that MySQL file. Okay. This is part 1. Now, while this is building, let's go through and look at another one. This is another thing I vibe coded, which we're doing in bulk, which is actually really cool. Actually, the more I go through this and figure out all this stuff is amazing, right? Because I'm like, oh, wow, like I just figured out you can use a URL with the coupon code and boom, it'll just go to the page. So I don't even need a tracker. I just give the coupon code and I'm off to the races, which is really cool. So starting to understand this, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at the site that I built. Now, this was based on the A-member software. So you go get A-member and you can modify it, right? This is something people do all the time where you modify codes, scripts, and things like that. Now, just as a side note, okay, I could get something like Go High Level, okay? I could pay, what, $4,000 a year for Go High Level. I could go get ClickFunnels. I can get all these other things, and I can pay a bunch of money. What I did instead, I was like, I'm going to use A-member, which is $150 one time. Right? I'm done. Like, there you go. You're paying $300 a month for ClickFunnels. I got this for $150, and it actually converts better. This actually converts better and does better than like StanStore and stuff like that, which StanStore and all that, you have to put your own merchant account in, you have to all this stuff. You're doing all that anyway, and you don't get the flexibility of, one, using your own domain and having it all rank on your own domain, which is like the whole point of everything. Same with ClickFunnels. You're sending them off site, which I don't like. So what we did with A-member is we actually bulk vibe coded a bunch of different files here to change it the way that I want, right? So you could go here, and let's say you wanted to join AI Profit Scoop Elite. You go here, here's what the order page looks like, boom, ready to go. And because it's based on a script that already works, we're off to the races, right? So boom, there we go. Really cool stuff. Now, in addition to saving money, it actually makes it easier. And if I want to put out bulk forms or bulk things to order, I can do that in a click. So this is very, very flexible, and that's what we want. In the age of AI, the more rigid your stuff is, the harder it's going to be. That's why like ClickFunnels and stuff like that, they're rapidly trying to catch up with AI because their stuff is really clunky and it takes a while to set something up. I wanted something easy. Now, the reason I wanted it easy is because if you were to go into your membership for, let's say you were in AI Profit Scoop Elite, what we're doing is we have this based on a folder. Okay, follow with me. This is all important. When we go through, I didn't want to use ClickFunnels or Go High Level or StanStore or any of these others. Why? Because I wanted it folder-based on my site. I wanted to be able to say, hey, you know what? joinmarcus.com/elite is locked. You can't get it unless you buy the thing. So going through there and understanding that is everything. So now going through and looking at that, we were like, okay, now I can go and say, now I have these other things, which are also other folders, okay? When you understand that the web is just a bunch of folders and files and things like that, pretty cool. Everything works great, right? Now, what we have here is we have the dork files, which is based on Monday's video. Okay, this has 1,000 different files with 1,000 different things that people can use. Really cool stuff, works extremely well. We also have other stuff here, like the vault. This is the proven niche vault. We have 5,100 different niches in here. Okay, see how this is like bulk vibe coding. So where does this come into play? Well, first of all, like I said, the data is the 5,129 sites, or the 1,000 dorks, okay? And we call them dorks. That's what a search query is called. It's like a weird Google search query kind of thing, right? We're using them in an ethical, good way. Very important that you use all of this ethically and good and honestly and upfront. But starting with this data point, now I'm like, okay, I got this list of 5,129 different data points. Okay, again, I can go and sell that, or I can turn it into a software that's something that's actually usable and charge monthly for it. Okay, starting to understand this, building it out. Same kind of thing here, where you go through and you look at this. So here are the 10. Obviously, we're using this in a very basic way. You're gonna go in and do like thousands of them as we get even deeper. So now we have this, which is the company, the exit type, how did they exit date, what company bought them, and the deal value. Okay, cool. So imagine, just tell me out of idea, right, out of thin air, what would something be worth if I had a software that compared your startup idea to 5,000 companies that had an exit or did good, or 10,000 companies that failed. And I build a software that you can run your idea through, boom, there you go. Or let's say for writers, you go out there and you're like, okay, I have people who want to write a book, all right? I could have a SQL database about all the different words that the top bestsellers have, or the concepts, or something like that, right? Let's say you're in the self-help niche. What are the top titles that worked good? That list alone has value because it's like, okay, this guy went out there and did the research. Even if it was with AI, it's helpful. To someone writing a book, that would be super helpful. Now, what would be even more helpful would be, what if they could actually use this data in the form of a software? Okay, is everyone following along? That's where we go through and we get this MySQL database, and you could actually go through and download this and it'll program the MySQL, right? It's actually very easy. If you were to go through right like this, let's say we wanted to go onto one of our sites and load this thing up. What we'd do is we'd just be like, okay, let's go into one of our sites here, and we could create a database. So I think we'd have to create a new one somehow. Let's see. I think we might have to create it in PHP MyAdmin, right? I'm not a super pro at this stuff, but I know enough to kind of get around. Actually, I think we need to do it in Database Wizard. There we go. We'll use the old wizard. All right, so what we would do is we'd take this and it'll create it on your site. In this example, using Blogging to the Bank. I would go through and say Blogging to the Bank. Maybe I would do AI Biz. Okay, simple. We go through, we create the AI Biz, you'd create the passwords and everything like this, AI biz, and then you could generate your passwords, use password, whatever, and then boom, there you go. Okay, so you would create this, create the user, create all that. We're gonna say yes to all privileges, make changes, and then boom, now we have a database set up. And you'll see that database should pop up right over here somewhere. There it is, right there. So now what I do is I just go to MySQL and I'd say, okay, here's what we want to program, here's the stuff we want, go, boom, that'll put it in there. Okay, so then we'd have to go through and say it exists or whatever. Okay, that should do the trick. Once we're done, we can actually go through and give the error to Manus and it'll tell us, okay, I put this in and got boom. And it'll tell you what to do with that database. It'll just kind of walk you through like, oh, hey, you need this other table. So that's a classic shared hosting. Your user doesn't have permission to create a new database. I'll fix it to remove the create database and use statements so it works directly. Okay, I could say I do have a database and user if that helps. Okay, that way we could go through and make that work. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have this talk to our software there. Okay, so here we have this. I could just get my database over here. All right, like that. And I could say this is the user, and database name is that. And then it should fix it for us. And then we'll just pop that back in there and boom, we'll have it ready to go. Understanding this is cool because now we can create and add to a database lots and lots of different things that we can now program into our software and make it work. Think about like maybe we're gonna have a ad generator and we go through and we have a database of all the different ads that did really well over the years, and now we can program the software to actually say, oh, hey, find ads that are like this, and then have the AI go through and create theirs that are like the ones that are most like them. Okay, so going through there is cool. While we're building that, again, going through with Amember, having those mods, building with Amember was actually really cool. This is one where what we're doing is we're actually giving the zip file to Amember, to Manus, and saying, hey, fix this thing, make this thing work. Understanding that's everything because you can use custom files, you can use whatever kind of stuff you want to make this work, and it really is like the sky's the limit. You can make this however you want. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the pattern, which is finding something that already does the job we want, and then using AI to multiply it across everything we need. This is big. Now, to show you another example of this, when I was going through and making personality prompts, this was a site that I created, which was based on different prompts and ideas. What we did is we took ideas and we're like, okay, we need to boil down what people do that actually works. Okay, so I would go through and I'd be like, okay, well, what is it that actually works? What kind of prompts work? Not like stuff you see on Facebook and all of that. What are actual, real things that help people? And then what we did is we boiled it down and had AI create over 5,000 different prompts and categorize them. Okay, is everyone following? Is this making sense to everyone? It's like this. When we go through, let's say I wanted to do research on something first, and I think I have an example in here. Let's do bulk data collection. I think this is the one I used for the dorks example. Let's say we wanted to go through and I say research what the top, I'm going to say 10 blogs, because otherwise we'll be here all day. If I was doing this on my own, I'd probably have like 5,000. Research the top 100 blogs and what they have in common and why they made money. Make a spreadsheet with the blog name, how much made, what they use to monetize, and an overview of the site and how long it's been around. When we go through and do something like this, it'll actually get that info, and then we can go through and say, okay, well, what do these have in common? Can we make a tool that evaluates your blog against the top 100? Does that make sense to everyone? Hopefully it does. So going through there, we'll start with this, and that's really the key, is looking for those patterns. So what we're gonna do is, first, we want to find stuff that already works. This is the gathering. It's like hunting and gathering, right? We're going out there and we're finding things that work. We can look at Code Canyon. Those are different scripts you can buy. Some of them you can buy the rights to. Buy the rights to it, bulk modify it, or bulk change it to something else, right? Like if I buy the rights to a script that helps people with, let's say I go on Code Canyon or whatever, and I buy a script that is for photos. It's like a photo organizer. Okay, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what if I wanted to adapt this for people who do photo shoots for weddings, okay, or photo shoots for like athletics, people who do like basketball teams and stuff like that, or I want to do it for scenery photos, or family reunion, or something like that, or even like for realtors, or for other people, and starting to realize like, wait a minute, I can take a script and I can bulk code that, and now I have exponential amounts of this thing, okay? So now when we go through, we'll look at like Code Canyon, Flippa, AppSumo, Product Hunt. There's an AI for that, Future Tools, Indie Hackers, Warrior Plus, JVZoo. We're gonna look at all of these and kind of look at like, okay, what's working? We wanna go through and look at what's already selling. Now I can go through with AI and I could be like, okay, look at these and find the biggest ones, right? So like if I go to Claude or something like that, let's do a new one, and we say, come on, Claude. And we say, use this list and get me the top 1,000 performing tools ever. And I'll put 100 in here just so you get the idea. Now what's gonna happen here is the AI is actually gonna look on these sites rather than from memory. This is important because if you go from memory, what's gonna happen is it's gonna go on its training data, it's gonna be back, it's gonna have hallucinations, it's gonna have all these things. We want it to actually fact check based on data, and then when I run it in Claude, I'm gonna get the sources, and then I'm gonna throw it over to Manus to get the even bigger stuff. So let's go through here. And it should get us the best 100 tools ever, and it'll have all of them, like AI, scripts, WordPress, whatever, okay? Super important. And again, this is all backed by data, so it's gonna work and get us stuff that's actually things people want, okay? So let's see what happens here while we're waiting on that. This is our list. Again, if you want the list of these, along with some prompts and some things that I have, you could go over to joinmarcus.com and get those. All right, let's see here. Okay, we'll have those if you go to joinmarcus.com. Those are on the top here. Just click on download the video notes and you'll get those. Now, going through here, what we're going to do next is we're going to look at the tools that we're going to use. I mentioned them already. We're going to use Manus AI, Claude API, and sometimes we'll use like Gemini API and stuff like that when we're tying into the AI. Again, remembering what we're doing here is we are using AI to start from a place of bulk, specific data. Okay, starting with this, now we're gonna have a building block to make this stuff on. Most people are vibe coding and they're like, hey, I want this tool, I want this thing. That's cool and great, but what I want is stuff that's based on data so that I can get a prototype out to the audience as fast as possible. I want something very, very quickly. Or I want something that's like a minimum viable product, which like, okay, maybe I can go sell the list of top performing tools, top websites that sold for all time, whatever. This kind of thing, I can take it and maybe sell it for, something cheap just to get some people in to start to fund my project. Obviously make it good and helpful and everything like that. But understanding, hey, wait a minute, data structured differently can be worth a lot to certain people. Very important, because if I'm a startup and I want to vibe code, how many of you guys would be like, oh, I have a list of the top performing vibe coded platforms based on what they do, how hard they are, how much they made, everything like that. That is going to be super, super valuable data to someone who wants to start a business. Now, packaging that with bulk vibe coding, now I can go through and I can create something from that. I can make a database. I can create a thing like this one here, where we go through and we have the files here, or the niches, right? If you look at the files here, we structured these. This, again, started with data. Now it's something usable where they could actually go and run the prompt with AI, boom, ready to go. So what we're doing is we're taking out the friction. We're making something they're going to want to use over and over and over again, which keeps the monthly recurring revenue doing really well. Understanding this is everything, because now I have something that's a core base that I can build into something else, right? Much like when I went through with personality prompts, or we built up blogging to the bank with all the marketing psychology reports. These are kind of things where, again, you're looking at the bulk data. What can I actually do with this? Is there something I can sell based on that? Now, going even deeper, looking into working with MySQL and different things like that, let's see how that did here. Now we have create database, use AI startups. So this is our idea, okay? This is cool, because what it did is it actually is making the database that I can now use and edit and add to, right? So I can just throw it back and say, hey, now find a bunch of kitchen items or whatever, right? Starting to look at this, starting to understand everything, we're gonna build based on data, which is getting us something that not everyone's going to do. Right? The harder it is to create something, the more thought it takes, the less competition there's going to be. Okay? Super, super simple. Like t-shirts. Everyone can make a t-shirt. That's easy. Not that many people can make a tuxedo. That's a little bit harder. Ergo, you could charge $1,000 for a tuxedo, where t-shirts are, practically giveaway. Understanding that is key. We want to build based on the barrier of entry being harder, so that it's harder for people to reverse engineer and try to come up with their own. So now going through here, when we import this, we're going to go through, choose file, AI startup. Let's see here. I think we can probably copy this. We'll try. Copy. And then what will happen is we'll have this in our database over here. Let's try this. And we will do go. Okay, cool. So it did create it. Okay, so that's basically what it created, and you could see what it looks like. It's literally just a Excel file here. You could see new. Here's if you want to add new. Here's the companies. There they are. There's where they're at. Here's what they were. Very, very simple, and then it has all the data of what they had. There's the founded year. Probably has the exit price. Here's the exits, acquisition, all of this stuff. Pretty cool. And here's the sources. Now I could go through, and I could say, now, let's make a tool that uses this database so someone can type in keywords and find startups like theirs, like a search box. I can provide database passcode if needed. Boom. So what this will do is it'll start to create things that we can actually use in a very, very specific way. Okay, so now we have this. So we have dashboard host, local host. Yes, it is local host. Okay, local host, and then we'll give it the password. I think that was in the other one here. And what we're doing here is we're literally manage my database, we're literally creating the foundation, the building blocks of something that we can actually use. So now let's go through, we'll change the password of this one. Password generator, okay. Boom, use, change. And that should do the trick. And then when we're done, obviously we want to change it, but this is just for the starting point. Okay, so there's that. Let's see if it'll actually work. And then what we'll do is we'll upload it, and then that will be the building blocks of something that we can create. So if I wanted to do like a blogging to the bank kind of deal where it's like, oh, here's all the bloggers that blog to the bank. I can create that database. It's much like what companies like Starter Story and different things like that do, where they're talking about all the different things that are out there that have actually made money, how they've worked, and the whole 9 yards. When you start to understand, like, we want to build based on something that we can grow on, and we want to have something that the AI can actually talk to and reference, and then we can build. Because what happens is you're going to have what's known as variables. Okay, and the variables can pull things from the database. So if I'm like, oh, hey, here's this guy, he's thinking about starting up a blog about how to clean your house. Okay, good. Now this is going to talk to the database and say, oh, I want stuff related to cleaning, right? I want stuff related to cleaning or soap or whatever. And then it'll go through and it'll talk to that and make it work. So now we're going to go through like this. And it should create the tool for us, and it'll show you how it works, just the basics of like, hey, this is how it works. And then later when we're done, that's where I lock the folder, put it behind a member, so they have to pay to get access to it, right? I can even make a simple version. Like, hey, here's the simple version, play around with it. This one only has 500 data points. The one in my back office or in your members area has like 5,000, right? So now we could see it does a keyword search, live results. So match terms are highlighted in yellow, quick filter chips, good. So we have like Google, healthcare, whatever. So now we have our AI startup search. This is what the file looks like. Okay, so now I should be able to copy this. Obviously, when you build this, you would hide all this stuff. You don't want to keep your database open or anything like that. But then we could go through, and I should be able to go to my regular cPanel host. And we'll go to this here. Let's see, File Manager. Okay, so here's our File Manager for this site here. And we'll go into the blogging one, blogging to the bank. There we go. And what we'll do here is I should be able to go into blogging to the bank, and then I should be able to go into the main folder. It looks like this is the main folder with all these files. Again, all this was built with AI, right? So super simple. So I could go through, I could do file, let's call it startups.php. Okay, so startups.php. So bloggingtothebank.com/startups.php. We go to startups, way down here. I probably should have called it like a startup just to make it easier on myself. But we could go through and see startups down here. Boop-a-doop-a-doo, startup. It's gotta be the last one, right? Startups.php. Did I make that a folder or a file? Let's see, edit. Yeah, okay, it's a file. So now I could go to bloggingtothebank.com, bloggingtothebank.com/startup.php. Should work. Startup, did I do startups or startups? So it does have a plural, so you want to make sure that all of this works right. And excellent. So now, check this out. We are getting further. This is where we start to understand this. And if you guys appreciate the fact that I teach alongside of just showing what I vibe code, let me know. Because I think a lot of people don't talk about strategy as much. But now, we have this here, which is like, okay, here's the startup exit finder. So if I went and I was like, talking, boom, okay, nothing there. So there's a database error. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to give it to this here, boop, right like that, and we'll see how it worked. Okay, so I might have an issue with the passcode. Let's see. And then once you get this done, you're golden. Okay, you successfully set the user's passcode. Let's see, change. So we'll just change it. Change password. Money. We'll just make it super easy. Okay, cool. So what I'll do, I should be able to just edit it right here. Save. And let's see. Reload. Control-Shift-R just to extra reload it. Database, date. Maybe if I get rid of this. There we go. Let's see, Control-Shift-R. Sometimes it caches, so you want to do that. Money. Okay, same thing. Localhost belonging to the bank, AI biz. Okay. Same error. I changed the pass. Oh, you know what? It's because I didn't add the guy to the database. So what we have to do is we have to add the user to the database. It's a lot to remember, which is why we have courses on this stuff. Let's do this here. Come on. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to do add user to database. I think that's what we need to do. Add. Yes, that's it. Okay, cool. That's probably the issue, I hope. If not, we got AI to help us. So let's do here, Control-Shift-R, cybersecurity. Okay, let's try it in a different browser just to see what's going on. Could be a password issue. Sometimes it's a pain, but you know. Okay, so skew that one there. Let's see. Oh, wait, you know what? Maybe I need to make changes. Maybe, let's see. Okay, let's see here. I changed passcode to money. Same error. And then once we get this thing set up, we're off to the races. And sometimes there's a little pain in getting this set up, but we'll see here. Debug mode. Okay, so it's going to have a debug. Okay, so now we got this here. Copy. And we'll edit this over here. Where do we have it? There. Okay, so we'll edit it here. Hopefully that'll do the trick. It should have like a debug that shows us what's up. Let's do money. Okay. Refresh. Let's try. Sometimes if you do like www, it'll break it out of that state. Healthcare. Okay. No results. Let's try A. No. 1. Okay. So same error. Let's do inspect, and sometimes it'll tell us the issue, but I'm pretty sure the issue is that. Okay. Same thing. Okay, all privileges, make changes, we did that. Select user, we did all that. And let's see. Password, this, that. Let's make sure our stuff is right. And we'll go back. Current users. Should be good to go. Could be a localhost thing, let's see. Okay, so this here, let's diagnose it. Please upload this test file. Okay, so we'll get the test file and it'll help us diagnose. This is one of the coolest things about vibe coding is it actually helps you along the way. So let's go here. We'll do new file. We'll call it a test. I'm calling it a test just so it's easy to find. And we'll go like that, create new file, and we will do a test, edit, boom, save, and we'll do a test.php, boom. Okay, so error, access denied. So it's probably something simple. Credentials are definitely the issue. Username, password don't match what cpanel has. Let's fix this properly. Create a new database. Okay. Do we want to create a new one? Let's see. So we'll go through, let's do, let's call it biz, or did it say call it biz? Let's see what it said. We'll just do exactly what it says. AI biz, okay. AI biz, create database, already exists. Okay, why is it telling us to do that? Do we want to delete it? Username, blah, 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 create new user, all privileges, AI biz. it might be, let's see, go to database, there we go, we'll just delete it. Delete, delete, boom, go back. Okay. Okay, and we'll delete this, delete, go back. Okay, so let's try this. Boom, he has the password in here that he wants. Create new user. Okay, what do you want? AI user. AI user, so we'll go create, go back, and then we'll go add user. They want the user of the new user, AI user. AI user, password, password, and create. Save, go back, and then we should be able to have a password for them. Did we create that? Change password. Just to double check. Good. Go back here, and then we'll add him to the database. Add user to database. Back. AI user, AI biz, add. All. Make changes. Okay. Did all that. Okay. Share the exact details it showed me. Password, user, and database. Boom. Okay. So now creating this, we should be able to do some bulk vibe coding once it's creative. Now, while we're waiting on this, the 550 500 pace. What we're going to do is we're going to look for a rhythm that actually works. We're going to generate 5. So like right here, we're generating 5 or 10 examples. We're going to test it out, and then we're going to do this at scale. And then we're going to create a tool that actually works with it, like the search tool. Okay, so going through here, let's see. Here is our new one. Hopefully this will work. Let's see. Let's go over to the files. Where was it? Right here. Okay, so startups, save, and let's go to startups, get rid of the search query, boom, refresh. Okay, same issue. I don't know what's going on with this, but it just does not want to cooperate with us here. Let's try it again. We'll just keep going back and forth. Sometimes this is the case. Let's see here. cPanel issue, credentials keep getting rejected. Okay, so here we go. Hosting, we are on in motion. Let's see, it should be able to find the issue. And we'll see here. All right, gotta love how it takes forever, right? Okay, so now it's gonna say in motion, that's the key. Not local, it says a localhost thing. Okay, so let's see what it does here. It's kind of a pain because I have an InMotion dedicated that actually does use that. So let's see here. And the cool thing is once this is done, now we can start scaling. Okay, so now copy, and let's try this. And sometimes AI will get into a loop, like when you vibe code. I know it's fun to have like the perfect clean webinar that shows everything, but it's not reality, right? A lot of times there's back and forth and all kinds of struggles and stuff. So let's try this. Save, refresh, dun dun dun. Okay, so this is saying in motion test, good. Now it should know what to do. It says all hosts failed, so let's see. It could be an issue with, I know that InMotion has had an issue with their hosting and their cPanel stuff recently. So it's just taking us through the loop. Add the new user. Okay. I'm just going to do this here. Let's see. Tell me the exact username. Let's see. Go back here. Make changes. And we'll go back. Come on now. Okay, so let's do that. Add user to database, password, change password, change. Okay, wants to be slow. And let's see, add user. Do you maybe need to log in to the new user on the search page? Probably not. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. So let's do add user to database. Good, add, make changes. AI user, database, AI biz. Let's try this. And see. Hopefully it'll get us somewhere. If not, we'll show you kind of how to scale once we get there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that up, get it working with the MySQL, the database, everything like that. Then we're going to go through, generate a few of them. And then once we go even deeper, we can give it that database and say, continue on and get tons of these, right? So now if it shows success, so let's see, we want test in motion, copy. We're just going to test it on this page. Let's see, right here, a test, save, a test.php. Okay, yeah, it does not want to work for whatever reason. But at any rate, what we would do here is we would go through and we get this database to work with whatever tool we're using, okay? Much like we're doing over here on this site, right? So we have a database of all those things. We have a database of all this stuff. Or on the domain site, we have a database of all the domains over here, right? Understanding that's key because now we can go through and we can do something with that data. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to get that search element fixed up. We're going to get it to where it can work. And then we're going to bulk scale all of the other stuff. Now, once you bulk scale, this is key. Now, when we look at this, what we have to do is we have to say, okay, well, what is it we're going to do with that? Well, I could go through and I can have that database of all of these startups. Maybe I have all these startups that did well, why they did well, what it was like. Did they do funding? Did they bootstrap it? How did it work? Or maybe the top 1,000 businesses to start that are most successful or whatever. Or maybe you're doing like the writer one where you say, oh, here's the top things your book must have in order to do this. And they can check based on like mystery or whatever it is, okay? So now with that database, I can actually go through and I can have the AI make content or searchable tools based on that. So now once I have that, I could say, okay, now I will make an entry point that would search all of these database items for whatever, okay? Is it working? I think it's working. Let's see. Maybe. Let's see. It might be caching, but let's take a look. Let's see. Okay. Control-Shift-R. Yeah, I'm still getting an issue here. Something like that. Privileged users, resetting. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't want to work. Probably has to do with whatever the heck was going on with InMotion and cPanel and everything yesterday. But at any rate, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at the bulk idea of what we want to create. So when AI generation fails, 1 out of 200 outputs has a bad URL, a fake price, or accidentally calls everyone John, or whatever it is, right? We want to make sure that everything matches. Because in the age of AI, all of this stuff, if you have a bad database, everything you build is going to be based on a bad database, therefore it's going to be terrible. what happens is you won't catch it by spot checking unless you know all of this stuff, which you don't. You're going to need a validator. The good news is that AI can write a validator for you that would understand it. So if you have something like hallucinated consistency, where it's going through and hallucinating all these ideas, AI can invent another field for item 1, like an author bio. It'll come through items 1 through 50 and say, hey, fix this. Or silent field skipping, cross-contamination. If you say, hey, I don't want these kind of things, or I do want these kind of things. Brand voice, confident hallucination, where it's going to go through and it'll swear that everything's working. Now, when we go through here, let's take a look at some businesses that are actually using bulk programmatic content and how this would actually work with bulk programming. If we were to go through and look at this, you could see Zapier had one template that turned into 7,000 app database, which turned into millions in recurring revenue for them. Starting to understand, oh, wait a minute, I can take this and scale it with bulk programming. Maybe I have something that would search for domain names for dentists, or search for this. Or maybe I have something that would automatically write content based on a specific set of rules, right? Starting to think about that and look at like, okay, what would I do to scale this? Could I go through and get a database of all the products from a certain drop shipping vendor, put them into something so that now people can make content around that? Or could I do this based on all these research papers? Now they can create something based on that, or you can create something based on that. Looking at something like Base 44, this was something where they scaled to 8 employees and sold it to Wix for a ton of cash. Looking at that, starting to see, okay, well, how did they bulk vibe code? Another one, you can look at like Nomad List, where they're getting different bulk content. Or WikiHow. Again, this is the same thing where it's programmatic content. What you're doing is you are creating the template and then you're scaling the template, right? Like let's say just last night we were watching TV and there was that commercial for the GoDaddy Arrow, right? GoDaddy Arrow is like an AI website builder. Well, what did they do? Like, did they just take AI and, no, what they did is they took templates and they skinned it. Right? So they were like, okay, this AI is going to talk to all these templates that is in a database. It's going to help the person say, oh, this website is about eyeglasses, therefore these templates are the best for that. Being able to build this at scale rather than someone going and trying to program from scratch in ChatGPT. What they're doing is they're making this thing work at scale in a very systematic way. Much like years ago, when I first learned about programming in like a very basic way, I went through and I was like, okay, I have this software that would create these landing pages based on keywords. So it was like, okay, I want 1,000 landing pages based on a keyword. So like instead of here's a landing page for bananas, now it would go through and say, well, here's one for bananas, apples, and every other fruit known to man. Okay, that was something that worked. And then I understood, wait a minute, these files, so what happened was, there was a template, okay, and the template took the input and formatted the template so that the output was based on the template. So if you change the template, all the output is different. This is how you start to understand bulk programming. When you have that template, I can now make that work for whatever I want. So if I have a good idea, let's say I know that writing a landing page or an ebook idea, if I know, let's go with the landing page one, just so it makes sense to everyone. If I know that an effective landing page has a title or a hook at the top, and then 3 bullet points, a picture of a guide, and an opt-in form that uses Aweber. If I know that, then I could say, well, how could I adapt this to people selling data, people who are dentists, people who are limousine companies? How can I adapt this for them? And the way it would happen is by editing the template. Now, once you start to understand this, this is when everything comes full circle. So if we go through here and we say, tell me the top 100 landing page elements and what makes the perfect landing page and why. Search and find these resources. Don't use memory. Okay, so now what's going to happen is it's going to go through and it's going to get all these 100 different landing page elements. This is going to boil it down so we have a buffer, right? So we'll go through and we'll be like, okay, here's the perfect landing page. Okay, what does that look like? Great. What are all the other things they could add? Could I add those as like a drop down for options? Cool. What would this look like at the end? And then how can I scale it? Watch how this works, okay? Is this making sense to everyone? Let me know in the chat box if this makes sense. Smash the like button if you're digging it. I think this is super important. I'm trying to get my ideas in order for you. It's not easy because this is kind of a more complicated topic, and the MySQL stuff kind of irritated me. But at any rate, going through here and looking at all these, like here is a list of online startup failures. Okay, could I make the odds of your startup failing based on all this? That's a tool people would want to work. Like that would work. That's something people would want to look at. Like put your startup in there, see if it actually works. Cool stuff. Or I could go through and look at various different other things. Like could I go through and maybe there's like a bunch of forms people need to fill out for stuff? Could I have those forms and say, put your info here, boom, it'll print out all those forms. That could be something that could be helpful. Starting to think about this different, think about like, what would this look like at bulk? What would it look like at scale? Starting to look at this here, we get all the different landing page elements. All right, takes a minute. Sometimes Manus takes a while. But then what we're going to do is we're going to visualize what this would actually look like. So if we visualized it, okay, so I would have perfect landing page builder. Okay, so we're going to start with the shell. If I wanted to make the perfect landing page builder, I would want to start with what do you want? Okay, so I'm going to start with what do you want? Do you want opt-ins? Do you want to sell stuff? Do you want branding? What do you want? Okay, then I'm going to go through and I have this look at all of these resources and say what were the best landing pages that were opt-in pages? What were the best landing pages that were sales pages? What were the best ones that were branding pages? Good. Go in your resource and look at why and what the elements were for them. Why? Elements. Why? Elements. Boom. Going through here. It's not super complicated. You just need to go through and really look at like, what would this perfect landing page builder look like? Basing it on data. Now we're going through and we're looking at that. And the cool part about it is like there's so much data online, we can build literally whatever we want. Like let's say you want to do sales calls. Here's the ultimate sales call helper. Okay, it'll go and it'll find the objection and be like, this guy said it's too much money. Boom, here's the 5 things you need to say after that. Okay, here's what they said next. Boom, here's the thing you need to say after that. Starting to look at that and understand, oh, all of this stuff can be compiled into something specific. Maybe you're going out there and you're like, I need to find the best vitamin supplement for whatever. Obviously, I wouldn't do health, but a lot of people know that niche, so it makes sense. Going through there and saying, well, maybe I want to do live stream equipment. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of computer do you have? Okay, that's going to narrow down what you can buy. What software do you use? Well, I use OBS Studio. Okay, here's the things that do and don't work with that. Oh, well, I like to use a video camera. Okay, well, here, you need this. Starting to understand where all this data can fit into all these pieces, and now we can scale it. And the beautiful part about it is all of this can be turned into content to promote your new vibe-coded bulk software tool. This is where we get in and we're like, oh, all of this is actually creating. And I was talking to someone yesterday on one of our private Join Marcus AI Profit Scoop Elite calls. And they were like, okay, I want to do something with my banner ad site. I have a site that teaches people about banner advertising. And I'm like, okay, well, if we could go and we can get a list of 1,000, 10,000 different banner ads that worked and why, now we're getting something that we can bake into a tool that would help them make a really good banner ad, right? They put their idea in, and it's like, okay, well, let's first turn it into a hook. Let's look at these types of hooks that fit what you're doing. Let's look at the images and the structure that would fit what you're doing. And then let's make the tool that's like, hey, enter your text, boom, you get a perfect banner ad. And maybe they could choose, oh, hey, the site I'm going to run this banner on is blue. Boom, it'll make it blue. I need an element for download. Boom, it'll put that download button on there. Starting to look at this is super, super key. I remember back in the day, like 2003 to 2008, there were softwares that just go nuts that would help you build banner ads. And one of them totally was terrible. I remember it. I forget the name of it, but it was, I think it was Armin Morin put it out. And it was like, it wasn't even that good. It was like a header image generator. It's based on all these templates. Super simple. Guy made a bunch of money with it, and people got value out of it, even though I thought it was terrible from a banner standpoint. For headers, like, people bought it. I remember I bought it, right? So going through there and looking at that was like, oh, now with AI, we can do what those companies could never do. Research at scale. Do you realize that the research this is doing right now in like 5 minutes literally is more than teams would take weeks to do? And now boiling that into our software, making that work, making it actually select the different things, now it starts to change the entire scheme of things. Like, watch this. Now, what would this look like as the perfect landing page creator tool that walks them through idea to HTML to put on their site? Watch this. This is going to change the way you think, because now we're basing it on this specific stuff. If we do the banner ad one, it's going to be based on specific stuff. So now we can see, like, here's all the things. Okay, so we got this here, outcome, benefit led, and we'll wait. It'll take a minute. But going through and starting to think about this, you can run simultaneous multiples of these in a crazy simple way. Then what we're going to go through is think about, like, how many of you guys struggle with landing pages? A lot of people. So now we have the top 100 landing page elements. There they are. I could put these in a database. Okay? I can make it talk to the database. Now what would this look like as the perfect landing page creator tool that walks them through idea to HTML to put on their site? We can use the Gemini. Let's get into Gemini API later. That's when we would want to step up into an AI mode. But let's see what would happen here. Make it visual and easy to use with drop downs and suggestions and a simple view. Okay, let's just see what would happen here, and I'll say HTML, please. I'm going to use HTML. I'll probably convert it to PHP later. I'm going to use HTML just so I could see what it looks like here in Manus without having to go elsewhere, okay? So now we'll do like this. And let's see, shouldn't take very long, but now while we're waiting on this, what I can do is I can actually copy this. Let's download it because it looks like it wants to be slow. Gotta love when things are slow, right? But then when I copy this, I can actually turn this into, let's see if we can download from here. Documents. I don't know why this wants to be so slow. Gotta love it, right? You fire up like you work all day and it's working, and then you fire up the webinar and it's like, yeah, I don't want to cooperate. But what's going to happen here is we're going to take these landing page elements and we are actually going to boil them into content for it. Because if I had this tool, what better way to promote it than actually make really good content about these 100 things you need on a landing page, right? Does that make sense to everyone? We're doing stuff so systematic that it can't help but get traffic, because it's based on the stuff that gets traffic. So understanding this, we go and we build it. If you're doing this for like an author tool, right? You do the top headline tips or title tips or whatever. Then we go through and build and grow. Now using Claude can do this as well. I'm going to use them together because like if I have these startups or whatever, I could do now let's make an HTML tool that evaluates a startup idea based on the failures, like good or bad, give it a score and why. We might need to tie into AI for this. We can use the Gemini API to make this work. Yeah, it says HTML tool. So this should go through and make it, and then we should be able to view it as well. But then we can go through and say, oh, hey, you know, maybe I could do this for small businesses or restaurants or whatever. Like, what are things you need to do? And you could have like a checklist or something like that. But starting to look at like how we would build this software out, how we would think about this in a different way is absolutely key. Okay, so now it's building that wizard. Let's see how this one's going. And then I should be able to get my Gemini API over here and pop that in. Let's see, Gemini. And let's see here. Okay, so now it'll create that page. Let's see how this, okay, so this one, vibe coding demo, vibe coding report. So here's our demo guide. Let's see. Oh, this is the bulk vibe coding demo. We need this one. Okay, so now those are the blogs. So we did get our blog report, which is the top 100 blogs, how they made money. So that's pretty cool. Niche dominance. So that we could go and make as a database. Let's see, this one's still going. We'll move this over here. And a lot of vibe coding is the waiting game, but you know, we try our best. So let's see how this goes. And it's going. Quick decision. Oh, is it asking me? I don't think it's asking me. Okay, so now here we go. Will your idea survive 2026? That's pretty cool. Describe your startup idea. 2 to 4 sentences. What does it do? Who's it for? How does it make money? Okay. Cool, so now I should be able to put this on there. Startup idea evaluator. Let's see what the HTML looks like. Does that have the code or is it asking for it? Let's see. I think it just asks for it. Let me see what it looks like here. API, blah, 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 save. Okay, it doesn't put it there, so we should be able to do that. Let's see. So we'll copy this, and I'll just put it on that same site we were using. Where did we go? There we go. All right, so we'll go here. We'll do file, fail.php. All right, so we'll just call it fail or something like that. So we'll do fail here. And let's see, fail, edit, save, and then we should have fail here, like that. Okay, so now we would go through, I just put my API in here. Obviously you want to keep your API safe. So we'll do this here. And boom. Okay, cool. And then we should be able to make this work, hopefully. Let's see here. Boop, startup idea. Let's do landing page software, AI powered. Target customer, web, let's do info product creators. Pricing model, $17 a month. What is your edge? We based on 1,000 profitable landing page elements. Let's see here. We'll run this and see how it works. See how it cross-checks? So that's where we would go through and actually think about like, oh, now I could tie this into database or whatever. So going through here, let's see how that works. While we're waiting on that, we will check our one here. Okay, so now we have our landing page creator. Now, oftentimes when vibe coding, it'll ask you to run it here. We don't want that. We want to use it on our site so we could see what it looks like. Your idea, product type, e-com, what's your offer, get landing page tips, what's your target audience, people building landing pages for info products, what's the #1 problem you solve, get leads, what's the main conversion. Let's do register, download free resource. Write your copy. Boom. Now this will go through. Now it's not going to work here because we'd need to put it on our actual site. So let's do that. And let's see how our other one's working. Right, so now we have this here. Okay, undetermined string. So now we're going to go through, check your API or try again. Let's see if this is working. We'll go back to this here. Okay, so there's the top tools. That one's taken a while. There they are. Let's do this here. So we'll just give it the error. Probably something simple. This happens all the time. Like when you're vibe coding, this literally happens like on a daily basis. So we're going to go through and actually build that up. So 4096 tokens. And if you guys like these kinds of videos, please let me know. They're kind of a pain to do. I always feel like they're terrible. I'm like, does anyone like watching this with like the errors? I always feel like I'm supposed to have some polished, fancy thing. But if you guys like this, let me know. I know there's a lot of people that are doing, hey, vibe coding till I make this money. And I'm going to show you like, hey, these are the things that I actually vibe code and how they work. So we're going to go here. We will reload this just to make sure it's good. So it does have that repair function, Gemini, the new one, copy. What we'll do is we'll go to the fail, save. I'm gonna reload and put my API in off screen, obviously, because you don't want to share it. You guys like this? Cool. Let me know if you guys like this. I don't know. I always feel like they're terrible and all over the place, but you know, I try. You gotta mix it between like actual stuff and things like that. So now let's do our API in there. I don't think it persisted. So let's see, copy and paste. Okay, let's see if that wanted to work. Okay, startup idea, landing page builder, info product creators. Pricing, 17 a month. What makes it different? Based on 1,000 landing page data points. Run the autopsy. Okay, so we'll wait for that to go. While we're waiting for that, let's also take the one that we created here. Okay, code, copy. And while this is running, we're going to do, let's do this as file. We'll call this landing.php. I usually like to use PHP in case I want to make something dynamic. Just helps, because if you make it HTML and you want to change it later, it's harder to change. If you start with PHP, you can always use HTML in PHP. So what we'll do is we'll go here. We're going to take this, copy, and we have landing. Okay, so I must have done it on fail. I think did I do the wrong one? I think I might have. Control Z, save. All right, we might get an error on this. Okay, cool, it did work. So here's the idea one, and then we'll go to the other one. So will your idea survive 2026? Run your startup idea through the same 6 failure patterns that killed 5,600 AI startup. This is pretty cool, right? This is like, hey, get an idea. The commodity trap, low price, no moat, broken CAC math. So the idea attempts to enter an oversaturated commoditized market with a low price point, making profitable customer acquisition nearly impossible. Why? Because your price is too low. So it actually gives you data on it. Pattern breakdown, end of ZERP runway, AI wrapper trap. That's a good one, right? This is where vibe coding is right now, where a lot of people are vibe coding wrappers and they sell good because they have a big audience. But if you want something that's going to sustain over time, you need something very, very focused, okay? So we're seeing a lot of things here. This is pretty cool. Companies that tried this is actually pretty helpful. And see how it's different than an AI wrapper? An AI wrapper would be enter your stuff here, no data points, just like, oh, this is like my custom prompt or whatever. This is something that's more based on other things. So we can go through and make it even bigger. Now, once we have one of these that's working, it's game over, we're off to the races, right? So now we can go through, let's see where we had fail, what was it? It wasn't fail, it was landing, edit. So landing page one, let's get that one over here. Copy. And this one's not AI enabled yet, but let's take a look at what this would look like and then we'll bulk it out. Okay, so let's do landing. PHP. Okay, so now we have this here. It's got a little overview of what it looks like. Start my free trial. So let's say product type. We want lead generation free resource. What is our offer? Get my free checklist startup guide. Okay. What's your target audience? People who want to create an AI startup. Okay, what's the number one problem we solve? Take the guesswork out of having a good idea by looking at data. Okay, so now we have this here. Start free trial, we want download free resource. Write your copy. So now we have main headline, outcome in time frame, and it has all of these based on data, right? Do you guys see how that's valuable? Like, okay, that's totally based on data. That can totally work. Let's do outcome. We'll do get a startup idea in 1 hour, or guaranteed, or whatever, right? Obviously, you would want to make it true and good, but these are all based on, hey, these are things that would actually work. Then you can do this one here, fastest way, subheadline, get sales, or whatever, okay? So it's actually creating that landing page for us, which is cool, and then we can go through and actually have it, AI enabled. So let's do choose your design style. Here we go. Centered hero, yeah, bold, high energy. Okay, your brand, let's do, I don't know, join Marcus. Okay, .com, there we go. Modern, classic, bold. Nah, that looks bad. We'll do modern, and we'll do square button. That works. Choose sections. Navigation required, features. So these are where you can like add all your stuff. Generate my landing page. There's your code. You're ready to go. Pretty cool. Okay, so now that this is created, this is where you get into like, how do I do vibe coding bulk? Okay, now I would go through, I would take this landing page creator and I would download it, and then I would go to Manus, I'd do a new task, and I'd say, save, boom, drop that in there. I want to create 100 versions of this for specific uses. Alter the design and ideas on each one. I'm going to do 5 because obviously it'd take forever to do a bunch. Let's do make one for dentists who need new clients, solar companies that want appointments. Let's also do websites that want users, vibe coders who want trials, and let's do realtors who want sellers. Boom. So now we're going to go through, and obviously you get the idea. If I was vibe coding this on my own, I'd make like 1,000 of these, and it would take all day, and I'd come back and I'd load them all up. But going through here, now we're going to create the versions of it, because once you have that template, you're ready to go. Same kind of thing with the startup generator. We could do, what are the odds your restaurant will work in this area, or whatever it is. And then what we're doing is we're doing 2 things. One, we can go through, if I was doing the landing page one, I can go through and I can sell versions to each one. So I'd have like the dentist landing page creator. I'd have the solar landing page creator. All of these would be for each one, low barrier of entry, pretty simple. Other ways to do it would be give it away free and get the ad revenue. Both methods work really well. Again, thinking about it like a business, obviously you're not going to go out there and just get rich because you have these. There's some work, there's some traffic involved, there's some things that you need to do to make it work. But once we understand, oh, wait a minute, I can start with data, program it into something people can actually use and work, because nobody wants the data, they want what the data does. I don't want a list of a bunch of startups. I want, why the hell did these things work? How can I figure out how to make my thing work? I don't want, oh, here's a bunch of books that sold really well. I want, how do I compare these titles of books with the things I'm doing? Right? Understanding this is literally everything. And that's where we go through and we start to say, okay, maybe I have something like these data finders. Maybe I have something where I'm vibe coding like the domains, where we have that bulk stuff. Now I'm making pages for all the domains, and now I'm getting traffic for them. Now I can go through, once I have that list, that database, and I can say, now make an Instagram image based on all the domains I have for sale that I can start promoting based on the niche, the idea, and everything like that. That's much like something we are doing very recently. This is something I'm doing where I'm going to be filming these affiliate offers. So I think I did them here. Yeah, so we took a bunch of affiliate offers and literally put them in here so that I have the offer, what it does. So here's all the stuff here, right? So now I can start getting traffic for all these different affiliate offers. Okay, are you guys seeing how this works at scale? And then I could even make something where it's like, hey, this will actually make content for each of these affiliate offers and you can go promote them. Thinking about this in a broader scale is where you start to open up and have something that not everyone has. Thinking about a company that does, offer aggregation, where it's like, oh, they just aggregate offers. Well, what if I actually had tips on how to promote them? What if I actually had a course based on the top whatever offers? Boom, there we go. And this is something where you can either, give it away free or charge for it. It's something we have in our members area, but there's actually an offer dashboard as well. Starting to understand, hey, wait a minute, I can actually vibe code these things based on data. That's why when I go through and I vibe code, I'm basing it on a training I did. I based it on a software I had. I base it on something that actually works. Looking at the examples like the Search Initiative or WikiHow, TripAdvisor, all of these different people that have gone through and bulk done this stuff. Like Capteria is a list of a bunch of software directories. Okay, how can I tie that in with my vibe coding? Whether it's creating the resource like Capteria is, okay, Capteria or however you say it, okay, they have a resource of all these different sites and businesses and everything like that, which can be found through using Manus. You find the data, build the site around the data, much like we did with the example we're doing here with blogging to the bank. I went, researched 250 psychological principles for marketers. Cool, that's great. And then I actually built a website around it. Now, the cool thing about Manus is you could go through and you could scale big time. So let's start these ones for the landing page. If I wanted to scale big time, I can go through here and say, read this site, take all 250 marketing, psychological, I don't even know how to spell that, psych terms, right? And let's turn each one, you don't have to spell to talk to AI. Thank whoever came up with that, right? Let's turn each one into an AI-powered tool. They enter their idea and it applies the principle. Make an index page linking to each one. Use Gemini. I will API through a proxy. That way it's a different file. And make them all really cool with tips, strategies, angles, related principles. They can click and add and adapt. Whole shebang. There we go. Cool. And here's the link. This is literally going to go out there and do all that based on the content on my website. That's why having the foundation of research, in my opinion, is the most valuable part of vibe coding. Because a lot of people make tools that they want to use that seem cool and everything, but I want something based on data points, because the more data points I have, the easier it is to market. I mean, you think about it, now I have 250 different terms that will drive people to this thing. Right? Like, think about it. It's like, okay, there you go. Like the offers. I have 100 different offers, 500 different offers. Now they can go through and buy that. And when they go through and look at it, I think I actually have it in mine. I want to show you what it built. I think this will take us in. Hopefully we're still logged in. Offer profit dashboard. So this is the dashboard we created based on that tool. So I went through, I did a big webinar and everything like that. I had my team make notes on the webinar, chop it up so there's little videos. This offer dashboard, they put in the offer, web hosting, $200, whatever. It'll research it and apply it to all of this stuff. So now you're getting something that's an actual tool people will use, and this thing sells like crazy. Much like when I did personality prompts. We're taking all the ideas, we're taking all the stuff, all the different things, packaging them into something that will actually work for us. When you start to understand this, it's not, how do I sit and vibe code this giant thing, hoping I'm gonna make money and hoping people want it. It's how do I look at what people want first? This is literally what made my business survive the last 27 years. Starting with what people want first. What do they already want to buy? What are they already looking up? What does the search data tell us? What are things that I can adapt or make better? Just yesterday, we were watching a popular TV show, and they had this little like stool that goes next to the toilet. And I was like, wait a minute, that was before the squatty potty, yet the squatty potty had like a 9-figure exit. Why did theirs and the bathroom stool didn't. Marketing, looking at what people wanted. Doesn't necessarily have to be something new. It just needs to be something people want marketed correctly. Doesn't necessarily have to be the next biggest thing. Like you look at background remover tools. That company got bought by Canva. It's still around today. Like many AIs do better than other tools. Like ChatGPT is not the best AI. It's better now that they have 5.5 out. But understanding like, how can I make this usable for something that's going to take a daily thing and make it, you're going to use this daily, right? How can I adapt it? Like, what are people doing all the time? What can I go through and make it work? Like, maybe people are making marketing messages all the time. Can I go through and make this work? Can I go through and make something that's actually very, very specific? Let's see how we're doing on the 250, and then I want to talk to you about something that we have on Friday that's going to help you big time. So what we're doing on Friday is we actually have a call. You can find it over at, if you go to joinmarcus.com, which I think I have on one of these. There we go, joinmarcus.com. We have a link here. I think it's down on the bottom. So go down to the bottom and click on the AI Process Dashboard class. What we're doing is we're taking a look at what people do on a day-to-day basis. Because I know a lot of people struggle with like, I want to do vibe coding, I want to start a blog, I want to start a business, I want to get traffic, social media. You hear all these things from gurus, and what I'm doing is I'm like, okay, let's boil this down into a process dashboard. What are you going to do every day to get closer to your goal of building a business and making money? What does it actually look like? Vibe coding is mostly about data and visualization. That's everything. If I can take and say, well, what do I do every day? Okay, well, every day I'm updating my blog post. Okay, have your blog posts ever made money? Well, then no, you need to like change that. What are you doing every day? Well, I'm going through and I organize files. Has that ever made you money? No, you need to X that out. And what we're doing is we're looking at the process that actually makes money. And the idea is on that class that we're having Friday, it's like a whole workshop from 1 to 5. That workshop is going to teach you how to make process dashboards that work. Right now, think about this for a minute, because what you want to do is you want to think outside the box. If you can go in that class and learn how a process dashboard works, could you not then apply that to dentists, chiropractors, marketers, info product creators, massage therapists? Could you not apply that to everyone based on the same data? Because data doesn't change, the skin changes. What's the skin? The skin is, oh, I'm making this for a chiropractor or whatever. That's when you start to understand this idea of bulk vibe coding, where you look at it and you're like, oh, I have this landing page thing. How can I make it for multiple? When you go in, and now we have these being created, we're on 4 of 5. Over here, startup idea evaluator. Let's see what we have. I think we had another one going over here. Here's like the blog analysis. Okay, so here's our marketing psychology. Now, it missed the idea, and I think it's creating it in React. Can we create not in React? I want all cpanel for cpanel, HTML, please. Let's see if it'll correct it. And then you can kind of see what they look like as well. Accept. Okay, focusing, so that's going to change it. So we want, see, it was making an app. We want tool pages so that we can market each separately. This is important because like going through, you would have all of these apply to whatever it is we want to apply to it. Okay, so like if I want traffic to go to the one about, psychology term, loss aversion or whatever, now I can put that into whatever it is I'm trying to make. So let's see how this works. And wait. Okay, so that's going there. And we should be able to upload it in one go, and it should all work with the API and everything because we should have one file that talks to it. See what files it's building. I might need to reload it. We'll see. Let's see here. All right. It's going. Gotta love the errors. Okay, there it goes. So avoid React framework. Complete terms data as a JavaScript file with all 250 principles organized. Okay. So looks like it's doing terms data. Index page, individual tool, all self-contained, building now. Cool. Okay. So now while we're waiting on that, let's take a look at what else we have here. How would we use this in our business, right? How do we use this idea of bulk vibe coding in our business? Well, we can do programmatic SEO sites. So this is where you would go through and you can make very helpful data, much like Cafeteria does, where, I think that's how you say it, I don't know, where they do that, or Starter Story or something like that, where they're reporting different points based on, hey, here's the schedule I want. Like, oh, let's have, how much did the company make? Okay, cool. What did the company do? Okay, cool. When were they founded? Did they get acquired? Give a brief overview, and then it'll go through and get all that data. Understanding that you can pull different data points using AI and put those into something you can actually create is key. This is turning data into usable content, usable tools that we could use to build a business and hopefully make some money. Domain investment reports. This is a good one where I could go through and get a bunch of domains that sold and give you tools that would work. Like for me personally, I've sold a lot of copies of Spamzilla, which is a good domain software. Why? Because people are interested in that. A lot of people, they neglect things that are simple because AI's out. But those simple things still fuel business all day. Like while in our world, we're talking about AI taking over everything, there's still domains being bought and sold every day to the tune of like $500,000 or more every single day at auction, not even including other domains. There's hosting companies that are still making money regardless of what's going on. And when we start to realize that I don't have to make something crazy, I can make something simple and scale it in bulk. Maybe PLR variants. I have a friend who runs a PLR site, and they literally make variations of different PLRs at scale. Using AI, this is the kind of thing you can do. Maybe I can go out there and buy the rights to a script, bulk it out for all kinds of different things. Maybe you're doing an info product. Maybe you're doing a personal trainer website. Maybe you're doing this, that, or the other. Maybe I make a dashboard like the example of the Herbalife one that I made years ago and bulk create it out for all different kinds of things. Understanding this is next level stuff where you don't have to have this big sales engine or this big thing. You're just creating little micro products and they work if you do them, right? You have to go through, obviously, results not typical, implied, or guaranteed, but if you focus and you get the right people, they can sell. Plugin variations. Maybe you go out there and you say, well, here's this plugin that worked for realtors. Can I adapt it for other local service people? Member migration scripts, where you could say, okay, here's an SQL file. We can migrate members or bulk adjustments or whatever it is. Email sequences. Maybe I can take a ladder of emails. Maybe there's like 10 emails. Apply it to different instances. Sales page variants, niche site networks, course multipliers, bulk database updates, and more. And when you start to look at this now, instead of just having one landing page creator, now I have a dentist one, a solar one, and on we go. Let's take a look at how Manus is doing on this one here. We'll do this here, and it's still working. Again, using bulk, it is going to take a while, and it does take credits. I mean, for full disclosure, I think I spent about $1,000 this month on Manus credits. It was worth it because it helped me build things and make things that directly impact my bottom line. That's what we want to do. We want to focus on the stuff that directly impacts your bottom line. Whether you're a blogger, a site builder, what is it that I can create that would actually work? This is super important. And when you start to understand that, now I'm building something based on what people actually want, what they're actually interested in. What we're doing is we're looking at this whole game as a whole. Okay, we're building a manifest, not a prompt. We're building a database. We're building data, not just, oh, hey, I'm going to vibe code this thing that makes your phone wiggle or whatever, right? We're starting to think of things in a different way. Years ago, actually, I met him again just recently. I met the guy who made a app on iPhone. I think it was like a fart app or something stupid like that. And he made a lot of money with it, did really well with it. Okay, now in this day and age, trying to replicate that, it was timing, it was probably a little bit of luck, it was probably the way he positioned it. He was a marketer, so he knew what he was doing. But if I can't do that, what if I made 100 different apps that did 100 different things? Okay, the odds of actually getting one to hit and land would be pretty good. And then, of course, I can cross-sell them to people who bought the other ones. Different things like that's very, very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a manifest, not a prompt. We're going to start with data. We're going to start with a proven script or proven concept, not just a blank page. A lot of people are starting ideas, right? They think ideas are where it's at. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Ideas are worth nothing until you actually execute them and create them properly. We're going to start with that. We're going to plan the funnel and the traffic before we generate. What is this going to look like? Okay, what would it look like if I had this product? What is the sales proposition? Who's going to want it? How am I going to sell it? How am I going to give it away if there's a free version? How am I going to sell it if there's a paid version? We're going to generate one perfect example before scaling. Try to sell it, right? Go out there. Try to sell your landing page creator to dentist if that's what you're trying to do. If that works, then you scale and you do the others. Run a validator after every batch. Make sure the data is clean. Then we're going to go through and we're going to scale. If a job needs 100 items or 20 steps, default to manus. If it needs 15 to 20, regular Claude is fine. If it needs one item, just do it in ChatGPT. Starting to look at how we're going to build all this in a real way is literally everything. Let's see how our manus is doing over here. It's going to take a while. I think this one will probably be quicker. It's taken, so 20 minutes so far just for 5. Imagine what happens when we start to bulk scale it. This is big, right? Then we can go through, we can validate it all with search data. I know a lot of people think that Google is no longer powerful or whatever. I was talking to someone who's like, I didn't Google today. I'm like, well, 8 million people still Google every 60 seconds. So regardless of what I think and feel, people are still using Google. So I'm going to go where they're at. This is important. A lot of people, they focus on their own knowledge and what they do rather than what other people do. They say, oh, well, Marcus, you can throw an image in ChatGPT and it'll do whatever you want. Yeah, well, people are still using image tools online and they still make a lot of money. Oh, Photoshop's out. Yeah, well, Photoshop still is making a fortune on people signing up for Photoshop. We have to look at this in a real world data. We have to look at what people want. We have to look at what they need. If I was going to go out there, just last night, I was programming a product for a guy in the real estate market, one of our high ticket niche clients. And we're building a software that helps people find offers and the price based on real world data. Okay, so that's something that you can go out there and you can create and you have an instant value proposition. Instantly make something that is usable and helpful. When you think about all the people selling templates, right? You look at, oh, they're selling templates for Notion or templates for Excel. There's people making a fortune selling these kind of things. How do I bulk scale? How do I make things that are actually going to work? How can I use Manus to make 100 at one time? Once I get one thing that works, I am going to duplicate. It's like McDonald's. Right? They got one thing that sold. They're barely good at making food. It's not even that good. What they did is they were like, I can make a hamburger faster than you can make a hamburger. That's it. And because of that, people were like, I don't want to wait for a hamburger. I'd rather have a mediocre hamburger in 5 seconds than a great hamburger where I got to sit down and talk to someone and leave a tip. That's why it worked. Once they figured it out, they were like, okay, we got this building. People drive around the building. and to get the hamburger quick. I think other people would want a building that literally gets money by selling these hamburgers in a systematic way. It is about the system, not so much the product. Think about that. It is about the system, not the product. If I have a duplicatable system that works, I will win over something that's a great idea or greater food that doesn't work. And when I start to look at it, that's where we need to understand AI is a hero at this. AI is the king of this stuff. And when we start to look at it and say, okay, now I can create 150 different pages, one go. 250 pages, one go. Look at this. It's got all this marketing psychology tools. There's our lineup. It's going to have it all linked up. It's going to be good. I don't even need to know anything about how to set up websites. I literally zip the file up to my cpanel, and boom, I have this thing ready to go. Then I can go through and build it even bigger. Or maybe I have a membership site about psychology or something like that. And hopefully this will create it. I don't know how much time we're at so far. Let's take a look at this one. It looks like it's struggling with this website and app one, but we'll see. It looks like it's correcting something. And I don't know if we can actually see these in real time. Might have to wait till they're actually created. But again, looking at that, it's like, okay, yeah, it does take, we're at 23 minutes so far just for these. And yes, it will take credits. I mean, I did a job that took a lot. We actually did a test where I had Manus play a video game, very popular video game. It cost me like $12 and it only got to level 2. Just starting to look at that is like, okay, we need to understand what we're using this for and use them wisely. Because, you know, like I can afford in my business to spend $1,000 on Manus. A lot of people can't, and a lot of people shouldn't. They need to know exactly what they're building and why. It's fun to get in there and build and vibe code and everything like that, but a lot of people aren't talking about the security, the risks, how to actually turn it into a business, how to actually create something people would want, how to vibe code bulk things that would actually work for you. When you look at this, okay, well, I have this niche site directory. Maybe I could go through and have all these niche sites. Maybe I'll create a template that they can use for their own. Or maybe it'll tie into domains they can buy, or a course or something like that. Starting to understand it is big. Going through, let's see. This one's just taking a while, or we'll see. Right? Any questions about this? Let me know. I've been ignoring the chat. I forgot it was there. Get it to play Doom. The tallow fries in the 70s were the best. I'm not old enough to remember those. Yeah, McDonald's fries are pretty good, right? But I think what they've done is they've actually taken like addictive qualities in food and put those in there. Like they use MSG and stuff like that. So cool stuff. I have to see the replay. Just woke up. All right, I think you'll like this stuff. Doesn't AI use Google to search the back end? It has its own database of sites that it's always collecting, and I think the AI works with it. So it's kind of the same concept we're looking at here, where we're using the database, the structure as the first part, right? Once we have that, we can do whatever we want with it, which is key. I can go through and I can build it up. I can make it however I could tie it into a WordPress site if that's what I want to do. Kind of build everything the way we want. Like once I was able to program all of the domains here, that was key. Like, could I do that? Like you look at a tool, I think it's Estabot. Estabot is a tool and they charge quite a bit. I think it's like $100 a month, Estabot. And it's a domain evaluator tool. Looks like this, okay? And Estabot has an algorithm. So they got an algorithm. Basically, they go through and they have statistically derived domain name appraisal you can trust. Cool. So what they're doing is it's going through a database. I would put something in like, you know, let's do wpcity.com or whatever, all right? And it'll appraise it based on stuff that works, okay? So it's gonna make us verify the logins or something like that. But what it'll do is it goes through its database. See here, access daily updated list of over 250,000, instantly appraised. It's looking at the database of what's over there. So what is this literally doing? Now, this is an extreme example where they have a database of like 1 million domains. I think they say they have like 7 million sold domains. Okay, so that's their database, that's their back end. And they're using that to validate a price of what your domain would be. Literally, they are doing bulk vibe coding based on a database of things that actually sold, which is worthwhile to you. So imagine this, like you think about bulk vibe coding and you're like, well, what if I did this? So Zillow has their whatever the price of your house should be, which is never accurate, right? It's like, okay, yeah, they're usually too high, too low, or just completely stupid. But at any rate, what if I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep an active database of sites that sold in my local city, right? So I'm like, okay, let's do Orlando. And it's just Orlando-based data. And I keep it updated. And I'm like, hey, you guys could go and you could use the bulk sites, the Redfins and all these, or you could use an Orlando one that's based on the Orlando market pulse and what I know about Orlando prices. You getting that? Because like right now, people, you look at it, I'm looking at houses over on the coast, and they're dropping like flies. They're like, hey, this one lowered 500 grand. This one's lowered 100 grand. They're dropping the prices because they don't know how to price. If they knew how to price, nothing would be for sale because everything would sell really quickly. This is the key. People don't know. You need to know how to price in your local market. It's completely different. What's happening in Los Angeles is not happening in Orlando. Yet Zillow's like, hey, here's how it works. It's $50 a square foot or whatever. And they don't keep in mind what's actually happening. If you had a bulk vibe coded one for Orlando, just for Orlando realtors to access, hey, you're an Orlando realtor, this is the data you need. Are you getting the point here? And it would be very straightforward. And you pair it with other stuff. Let's find out what Orlando realtors are doing that gets success. Good, let's focus it in. Going through and understanding all these things, putting it in a dashboard, taking that data that's constantly updated, having the AI constantly update the data, saying this will help you price the houses correctly. Okay, is everyone getting an aha moment? If you are, type aha, smash that like button, let me know, because this is about data and understanding before we vibe code. Right now I have something that Orlando realtors would want. Now, getting out there and selling it obviously takes more, like the Esteban example, like all of this, understanding, okay, this we can get it out there, but let's get something that's actually going to work. Let's get something that's based on things people actually want. Let's go through here. Looks like these things are taking a while, right? But again, this is something where, you go through, you look at it and you're like, okay, what about house prices, right? I could go through and I can do Orlando house prices or whatever. Let's see what we got here. Keywords, Orlando house prices. Okay, so now we have Orlando house prices. We got 24,000 a month traffic potential. Zillow is the king. And I can even do a contrarian one, right? I could be like, okay, Zillow is usually off by 50%, or whatever percent, right? Pick a good number, let's say 10%. Zillow's off by 10%. On the average house, that's $30,000. Here's how to get a more accurate price, okay? And boom, the thing would generate leads for realtors day in and day out. Maybe you do like how to price house, okay? How to price house, how to negotiate house price as a buyer. Okay, so I could do that. How to sell my house quickly for a good price, how to negotiate, and on we go. And this is the vibe coding app that I'm making for one of my students. Very cool. That's a service that we offer. If you guys are not familiar with that, you can check it out on our site. I would say start by joining AI Profit Scoop Elite. If you guys like this stuff, I go through calls every week where we show you guys how to build these, and then if you want us to do it, you can have us do it. Very straightforward, but going through here, you can do like price house, how to price real estate, something like that. How to price real estate, photography, how to negotiate price. Let's do real estate value or house value. Okay, so house value. You could do something like this. You got 268,000 traffic potential. What is the value of my house? House value, Redfin, Realtor, Zillow, value my house. This is something where you can go through, and it's not super hard to promote, because here's the deal. Everyone wants to compete with Zillow. They're like, oh, dude, I got an AI house price valuator. It's better than Zillow's. It probably could be, but nobody cares. The problem is when you vibe code, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your vibe coded product because there's a million. There's a million of them. But what if I go through and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus small. Let's make it work. I'm going to go through, I'm going to use Marcus's bulk vibe code plan, right? Bulk vibe code. And I'm going to make the Orlando house price valuator. Cool. I can do that. House price valuator. View. Okay? Then I can run a press release to it. Probably get some traffic. Right? Hey, you want to know the Orlando or, whatever place you're doing, you do the press release for that. And you look at the odds, right? How many houses in Orlando sell every year? The odds are kind of in my favor that a lot of people are going to want this. Okay? Then I can go through and say, okay, once I have the proof of concept, then I could do this for all cities, all states, all zip codes. Jackpot. Now I have something that actually works. Duplicatable. Run the press release to each one. Build, scale, grow. It's about making something that works. Hey, I got this landing page thing that works pretty cool. Good. How do I make it for all of these? Okay? That's what we want to do with bulk vibe coding. When I go through and look at something like this that's literally taking forever on this one, I don't know why it's taken forever, but let's reload it, see if it's making any progress here. Here's this other one. Yeah, these are just taking a while. I don't know how long this has been at it, but you can kind of see the progress there. Build to compete terms. Here's this one here. Okay, so it did save them. So here's our files. We do have a demo. Good, great. Well, let's check it out. And again, this is like dentist one and stuff like that. So now it's building the pages. It wasn't even built, so it was just researching. Okay, build niche landing creators. Looks like the wide research was checking what they look like. Okay, I wonder if we could download all this. Save. Okay, so it's like an Excel file. Turn it into a database. So here's our example. So it's got like the niche, dentists who need patients, output file clean, file path, trustworthy, niche, teeth whitening. Okay, so it's got all these different things here. Pretty cool. And then I don't know what the number is, but we'll take a look at what we have here. And see what we got. And then it's cool because like vibe coding in bulk, you're literally just uploading the whole thing to your site. I think we had this open over here where we had our files. This one, here it was. So like the files here for the example of the marketing psychology stuff, these are all the files, right? So there's the horn effect in marketing, the identify alignment. And then when we build on this, we're just going to keep making it better. And now we have all these different ones that we can promote it with. Same kind of thing, like the easier it is to make something small. Like, okay, I could go through, I can make something small for Orlando houses, and then I can scale it and make it bigger for something else. I can make something small for, maybe there's this psychology marketing thing for realtors or other businesses, and then I can branch it out to something else. But yeah, these are taking a while. So hopefully you guys enjoy this concept of vibe coding. We will pick it up if you guys like it. If I get enough comments on this video, we'll pick it up next week. But again, going through here, now we have a list of 100 different tools that have sold. Now you could go through, here's our idea of all these different tools that we can validate marketing concepts with, right? This is where we start and we get things that are like, oh, now we're basing it on data. And if you like the idea of bulk vibe coding and creating things based on data, obviously looking at the ethics, obviously looking at what we're creating, this is something that I'm creating right now. We do a lot of bulk vibe coding in our Join Marcus subscription. We have done some bulk content and coding in the personality prompts business, which has made me a pretty decent amount. The vibe coding with the Join Marcus has been pretty cool because you could actually go through and change multiple files. Like you would just give the script to Manus and say, okay, here's how I want it changed. Obviously, make sure that if you're using a script, that you have rights to use it if you're going to sell it, and rights to adapt it if you bought the rights to it. But a lot of things can actually be tweaked and changed. Like maybe there's a plugin that's good for backups, and you make it for people who use WordPress for realtors or whatever it is, and you find these different places and you start with something small. I think far too many people are trying to hit the ball out of the park and get that unicorn idea and that unicorn vibe coding thing, and they're not focusing on something simple that can work. Like the other day, we made a very simple bulk creation tool where we create bulk items with AI with a specific example. Like, can I make bulk pages, bulk PDFs, bulk TXT files, bulk PHP files, different things like that with a specific idea behind them. It's all about the idea behind them, not so much the output. Much like the McDonald's, it's about the structure, not so much the output. And when we start to look at these and see, let's see how this one's doing. Okay, it's taken forever, but you gotta love Manus. It does what it does, and we'll try to get that thing going for you. All right. Building dentist landing page creator. So here's the dentist one. I think it's building them at the same time. And then it's cool too, because you could actually base it on the data. So if we were to go through and look at like landing page, you could see what different types of landing pages people would want. And let's see if we could shrink this down so you can actually see it. So if we did like landing page, all right, you could see what is a landing page conversion, landing page examples, and then you could see all the different types of landing pages people would want, and you could make that for what it is. So let's see, landing page, what makes a good landing page templates. That's a big one. You can even do like templates or landing page SEO. You can make a tool that makes SEO enabled landing pages. Landing page software, people are actually looking for that software. So it is in demand. This is stuff where, we're basing it on, hey, what's actually going on? What are people actually spending money on? Right? I don't want to try to be like, hey, let's make this new product and hope it works. I want to look at data. And that's the key. So now let's see, I think we had, and this is how we go through, our social media person goes through and makes all these images, which works really well as well. And that's where you get into the marketing. So I could make images based on all the marketing psychology or whatever it is. But going through and doing these at bulk is really key. Thinking about what we'd want, thinking about how do you give value at scale? That's what this is about. How do we make value at scale? How do we create things that no matter what, even if we get like 1,000 of them, how do we make that to where it still holds value no matter what? And that's really the key. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, we'll show you the follow-up hop over to joinmarcus.com. We have a special training, which if you go to the bottom of joinmarcus.com, you can see that training down here. This is Friday's class for AI Process Dashboard. We're going to go through and teach you how to make a process dashboard based on tasks that will align you with things that make money, right? So like, how do we take your day and structure it based on a day that actually gets results? How do we do that? How do we look at what people do every day? What are tasks that affect your bottom line? What are tasks that keep you off the beaten path? What are the things that actually do? And what we do is we boil that into an actual process dashboard that you can use every day and stay on track. Whether you're blogging, whether you're vibe coding, whatever you're trying to build with AI, if you're trying to build a business, this is for you. I recommend all my students join that process dashboard class, because what it's going to do is it's going to make you think about your time differently. How do I package as much profitable tasks in my day as possible? Not, oh, I changed my landing page today, or I made this thing today. How do I focus on those tasks that are having the highest probability of getting me what I need so that I can be profitable? That's what business needs to be about. If you're bootstrapping your business and building from the ground up, if you're struggling trying to make money online or whatever it is, that process dashboard is going to help you see clearly. It's like glasses that you put on, and it'll say, hey, if you're not doing these things for your specific business, it's about building a dashboard for your business. You come in, you say, this is my website, this is my blog, this is my idea. Boom, here's your dashboard. This is where the profit is in your market. Go get it, go find it. Obviously, remembering that this is a business. Most people trying to make money online make nothing. We need to look at this and we need to understand what these businesses are doing that actually get results. Then plug it into our bulk vibe coding platforms, going through and saying, how do I build and create things that people actually want? How do I scale it and make it work? So if you enjoyed this, smash the like button. Check out the links in the description. Hop on over to joinmarcus.com. We have the notes and some tools and cool stuff over there so you can kind of see what we're doing. We build all this stuff in public so you can see it. Some of it we build in our membership area so that you can see like the nitty gritty and stuff like that, the testing and all of that. Definitely recommend go to AI Process Dashboard. If you are just starting out and you want an idea, you want to go through and start based on data, you can use the purple button there and work with us. But this is all about using things that actually are based on data and things that actually work. So if you like that approach, make sure you subscribe, smash the like button, check out the videos in the description, hop over to joinmarcus.com.